What is good, everybody? Welcome to the Army Vet VR, broadcasting mil sim, flight sim, first person shooters, and even a bit of GTA 5 out to you on all forms of video game social media: Twitch, TikTok, Omelet Arcade, YouTube, and Instagram. We're everywhere. You just got to type in Army Vet VR and you're guaranteed to find us. Today, we are in ARMA 3, and what we're looking at today in ARMA 3 are the Canadian mods and the Canadian add-ons that are available. Today is a part one of two, so today is just vehicles only, vehicles and aircraft. That's it. I'm not going to get into every vehicle, but I will get into the vehicles that I've operated or been in or, have experience with, and I'll kind of give them, I'll chip in my 2 cents on what I think the recreation here was like. Before we get into that, I just want to say thanks to the creators of these two mods, these two Canadian military mods. As a Canadian Armed Forces veteran, I'm honored that somebody has gone ahead and done this. It may not seem like much to some people, but to me, it's a huge deal. So here we are in the G Wagon, the Mercedes G Wagon. I drove these in Afghanistan on my first tour there. I used to convoy and command and crew command from these. But they've done a great job recreating this. I do like it. The one thing that always bothered me about these when I was in Afghanistan was that we had no cupola. There's no shield around the gunner on the roof. So it's very dangerous to be up there, and I always hated it. As well, the G-Wagons have a high rollover factor because when Canada had them made, the specs on them, they had the suspension sitting so high that they're super top heavy. But anyways, great job on the recreation here. Let's check out some artillery. Not sure if we can get into this piece or not. Well, yeah, there we go. We can gun with it. So you could set up a whole artillery battery if you wanted with this. I don't know, and to be honest, I have zero experience with artillery stuff. It was like one of the trades that I had nothing to do with ever. So I don't know how to sight these things in or how to do anything like that. But yeah, you can operate it, and I think that's pretty cool. As for the realism factor here, I can't really say for sure because like I said, I never operated these at all in my career. But I hope I get a chance to use these on a mission in ARMA here because they look pretty fun. Now we're over to the Western Star, not Iltis, sorry. It's a piece of junk like the Iltis, but this is the LSVW, or Light Support Vehicle Wheeled. Now, this came to us thanks to Kim Campbell, Canada's first female prime minister, and they sucked. I mean, they could get stuff from point A to point B, but they were rust buckets, and they gave us porcelain brakes. So every time you stop, they screech, and the game doesn't have that added in, and I think it'd be fun if they did. This little pickup truck here is called a Milcots, and they're an off-the-shelf pickup truck that the Army purchased. They don't deploy or anything, so I'm ignoring that. This is an MLVW, which is a medium load vehicle wheeled. And this is a pretty accurate representation of the MLVW. There is another one available in the mods here, and we'll look at it briefly, but I'm not a fan of it. It doesn't quite look like the Canadian MLVW. It's got more of an American look to it, so I'm just going to ignore that one. Now here we're coming up to a LAV-6. I'm going to get into this thing, but I've never ever been on them. When I left the Canadian military, all we had were the LAV-3s. There were no LAV-6s. So there have been leaps and bounds in almost the last decade since I left the military. The Canadian Armed Forces has really stepped up their game when it comes to equipment. Now, they haven't done much on the interior of this one, it looks like. But we'll check out some of the other vehicle interiors, and hopefully they're a little better. This over here is a Bison. It's an APC. This is actually a command post variant, but we use them as ambulances and as APCs and as CPs in Afghanistan. And I used to also drive these. I crew commanded in them, and I convoy commanded on them. Great piece of kit. I really liked it. Been all over in them, and they're great. I trusted my life to those things. And, Yeah, no complaints. So over here we got an 81 millimeter mortar. It is operable just like the artillery piece was, but we're not going to stop and check it out. I want to get over here to this Leopard. Now this one here isn't the greatest sort of reconstruction of a Leopard on the interior, anyways, but on the exterior, it looks well. I think they've got things modeled pretty decently here for a video game, and for somebody who's not getting paid for it, they've done a pretty good job. We'll just pop a couple rounds off here and see how that goes. Thought we might be able to take down this air traffic control tower, but I don't think that's going to happen. Anyways, yeah, this is, like I said, I really like this Leopard. They've done a great job with that G Wagon. I do want to check out the Bison a little bit more. Oh, this is strange. You only get one periscope. Usually in armored vehicles, you get the benefit of 3 periscopes, one on the left, one on the right, and one in the center, to keep you going. And the Leopard, the C2 is no different. It's got 3 episcopes or periscopes, whatever you want to call them, available to the driver. But that model only had 1. So that's definitely not my favorite one, but there's a Leopard down here that I really like. They've actually taken some great time, some great care with it, and they've done even a modeled interior to it. So I'm quite impressed with that. Here's an HLVW, heavy load vehicle wheeled, but that's nothing like what the Canadian ones look like, so I'm just totally ignoring it. Here's a LAV3. This is an infantry support or section vehicle. So you'd have a section of infantry in there, and everybody in the platoon has got a LAV basically. So 3 sections, you would have 3 LAVs to a platoon, and actually 4 because you'd have a command vehicle as well. But anyways, yeah, this is the LAV3. I'm quite familiar with these over Afghanistan. A great vehicle too. Canada really sort of led the way with these vehicles. They came up off the Swedish back in the 70s or 80s. And the first generation of these were called AVGPs, or Armored Vehicles General Purpose. And Canada developed 3 different variants of this. They developed the Cougar, the Grizzly, and I can't remember what the armored recovery vehicle was that they had for it, but they only had 6 wheels as opposed to 8. The Cougar had a big turret on it. It was the same turret that was on a Scorpion British tank, and the same technology though that a World War II Sherman tank had. That just weren't up to speed. They were meant as trainers, but Canada was deploying them, and they saw action in places like Somalia and Bosnia. But we learned a lot from those, and we really got stuck on them. And so we've kind of gone into these LAV generations now, and I can't believe it that they're already up to the 6th generation. Now, the one LAV that you won't see here is a Coyote. Now, the Coyote is a reconnaissance vehicle. And it's operated by regular force armored units in Canada. The reservists don't get them. I trained on them and worked on them with the RCD, and they were a blast to operate too. That was, I think, the 2nd vehicle I learned how to drive in the forces was a Coyote, and just a blast with it. Now we're coming up here. There's another, I believe that's a LAV3. I have a hard time telling the difference between the 3 and the 6. Let's get into some aircraft. Now, there are a ton of Griffins in these mods. And you'll see, this isn't even all of the available sort of loadouts for Griffins. They have the regular green and gray, green and blackish sort of color scheme. Then they have the black Griffins, or the grayed out ones, and those are allotted as special forces, they say. But I'm not sure even if Canada's JTF uses Griffins, or if they have their own sort of helicopters, because the Griffins have been around for a while, and I'm not sure how tactically sound they are on a modern day battlefield anymore. But let's check out this Griffin. These look very realistic to me. I've talked about it before. I spent a fair bit of time in and on Griffins. I love these little helicopters. They're pretty nimble, and our pilots definitely know how to work them. So I've enjoyed every time I've been up in one. I've always enjoyed the flight on the way to whatever it is that I was supposed to be doing, whether it be reconnaissance or just anything. So yeah, they've done a great job modeling these, and this is predominantly what I use in the game. Are the Griffins. I don't play as an armored crewman, even though I was one. I don't play as an infanteer, even though I was one. I love to fly. I hate heights, but I love to fly, and so I love games like this where there's like a friggin' cornucopia of video game or of various equipment and vehicles for you to get on and use. I play DCS a lot, and the problem with DCS is that when you crash, you're out of the game, right? Or if you have to force land your helicopter or whatever, you're done, you're out of the game. And this, if you have to force land your craft, right, you're still armed, and you can get back in the fight, or you can return to base and grab another vehicle. And that's what I really like about ARMA3, is that it's very versatile, and there are so many different options and opportunities for you to explore in the game. Now, as a simulator, it's not quite on the realism level that something like DCS is, but I'm telling you, it's still worth your while. It's a great simulator. It's a great program to get into. So here we are. This is Canada's answer to the aging Sea King. Unfortunately, one of these crashed about a year ago, and we lost everybody on board. But that is, I believe, been the only recorded incident with one of these helicopters, as they are still rather new to the fleets. And I've never seen one in green like this. They always come in gray. But these look like a pretty neat helicopter. They remind me almost of the British Merlin. And I spent a lot of time in the Merlins as well over in Bosnia. I was a peacekeeper there, and it was at Banja Luka, which was an active flight line for NATO helicopters. And we used to fly, do reconnaissance flights with the RAF and their Merlins. So we'd sit on the back ramp and look at things down below. Pretty boring job, but it was a fun experience anyways because of all the flying. You never really saw much. Here we are into the C-130 Hercules, standard Canadian gray paint. Looks pretty accurate to me. The one thing I noticed that it doesn't have is usually C-130s inside the cockpit in the pilot's area, on the roof and at the back of the pilot's area where I'm looking. There is usually an observation dome there. There's a glass bubble on the roof of the Hercules for people to stand up in and spot any threats and stuff like that. So it's missing that, but no big deal here. It's all, this is fairly accurate as a C-130 goes. Looks pretty good on the inside. I think we can drop the ramp on this and stuff too. But I've spent a lot of time in and around Hercules, the C-130s, not just Canadian ones, but American, Spanish, all kinds of NATO countries that fly them. Used to be around them all the time in Afghanistan. They suck to fly in, though, as a passenger. I can't lie. They're pretty cramped. You don't get an actual seat. You just get to sit on a piece of cargo netting. It's just uncomfortable. I spent about, it must have been close to 24 hours total in a day in one of these. And it just absolutely sucked. We were flying from somewhere in Southwest Asia into Afghanistan. And it was just hellacious. Now, back in this part of the Hercules, normally you find a bleach bottle attached to the sidewall, and that's what you you go to the bathroom in on long flights. But other than that, this is pretty accurate. On the sides of the plane, you would have the cargo netting and then up the center. So you would have 4 rows of troops seated. Now, why this is so uncomfortable is to make that work, you have to have a soldier's knee or the leg in between your legs. So it kind of sucks. Nice Chinook here. They've done a great job with it. When I first saw it on ARMA3, when I was setting up this map, it looked a little more like a stealthy kind of modern or advanced American Chinook because it had all those stealthy kind of jagged angles. But I see this and it's nice and rounded. This is definitely a good model of a Chinook. I see that they've taken the time to model the insides, the pilot's cockpit, and the instrument gauges and everything are all readable, super clear. And this looks like a fun helicopter to fly as well. I'm looking forward to trying it out later on. What are we gonna do next? Let's go look at these Griffins. Like I said, there's so many different types of loadouts they have for the Griffins. They've got slicks, they've got just troop transport, they've got close air support. They have all kinds of different setups here for you to pick from and to deploy with. But I really love these helicopters. Can't deny that. I can't not sing their praises. It would have been cool if I'd been around in the time of the Huey. That's my favorite helicopter. But these Griffins are the next kind of best thing. I really like them. Now, I do find in the game that some of the Griffins that they've generated look more like a British Lynx as opposed to the Griffin. I think that they probably based the design off of the Lynx. But I think that they've done, all in all, the creators here have done a great job sort of recreating Canadian military equipment. And once again, I gotta offer my biggest thanks to them for doing this. I'm honored as a Canadian Army veteran to see this out there and people using this stuff, and kind of it generates interest in the Canadian Armed Forces, our soldiers, and our veterans. And I'm really grateful to see that. And not only that, but I grew up in a video game generation. I mean, I was born in the very early 80s. I was born in 81. And so I've seen video games basically from the beginning to now. And all these military ones, it's always US or British. You never really hear much about Canada. So I'm very happy, very proud to see a Canadian mod.
Yo, this one's going out there to all my homies, my natives, my brothers, my family that's supporting me. Those that are overseas, those that are on lockdown, and those that are free.
Gordo. We still living when the loving is gone. Kill, kill was a government song. Sing along, it's just my brothers in arms. Gotta stick together, now more than